Hello and welcome to Brisbane, Australia. I'm Mick Chan from poltown.org and we are sampling the Bentley Continental GT. In the eyes of Bentley, the Continental GT isn't necessarily a sports car, though you'd be forgiven for thinking otherwise, because it is quite athletic. Now, despite its sportier looks, especially on the outside, the Continental GT retains its grand touring credentials in a big way, because we've done about half a day of driving now, and it still feels completely effortless. Right now, we're doing about 100 kilometers an hour plus change, and it feels like we're probably tapping into 1/10 of its ability. Now, a big part of that is due to the powertrain. As before, this is a 6-litre W12 twin-turbo petrol engine, and it's a powerhouse. It produces 626 horsepower, 900 Newton meters of torque, and it just bodes very, very well for highway cruising. And that's not all, because as we were coming through some twistier, more challenging bits of road, it doesn't fall to pieces. Far from it. It has that kind of agility which at first you'd think, maybe there's rear wheel steering here. No, it doesn't. It's just very well sorted from behind the wheel, and it blends that with the sort of composure that you would just assume to have in a grand touring car like this. The great big engine is now connected to an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, which then drives all 4 wheels. Now you're thinking, dual clutch instead of torque converter? Has it sacrificed its smoothness? Not that I can tell, because as you go along, any kind of varied driving input, whether you're really going for it, you're sitting in traffic, or you're just sitting at a constant speed on the motorway, it does its thing, it gets out of your way, and it just is smooth. Now, perhaps the greatest test of a dual clutch transmission is in urban driving, where there's lots of traffic to contend with, stop-starts, junctions, just all kinds of interruptions to smooth driving. Now, it's handled it pretty well, and we've done all sorts of roads, we've done the highways, we've done the twisty back roads, and it handles stop-start functions just fine. Now, one thing urban driving teaches you about any car, in this case the Continental GT, is that compared to its stablemate, the Porsche Panamera, it does seem slightly easier to see out of, and therefore urban maneuvering is that little bit easier, though this is subjective of course. Visibility is pretty good in the Continental GT as well, looking out from the driver's point of view. Now, save for the A-pillars, which are pretty thick, elsewhere it's pretty good. I mean, being a coupe, you don't really have B-pillars as such to deal with, so all around you get a pretty good view of what's around you when you need to negotiate traffic and obstacles and things like that. Now, a luxury car can be many things to many people. If you ask 20 people, you probably get 20 different answers. But I think this is where Bentley has done well for the Continental GT in its latest form. Like we mentioned earlier, it has stuck firmly to its grand touring design brief. And in doing so, with the addition of that newfound athleticism, slightly more sportiness, it has given itself that little extra edge without diminishing its core strength, which is long distance, high speed cruising in great comfort. So with that said, the Continental GT in Malaysia will be well into 2 million ringgit by the time you've specified it with a few options here and there. This one in particular, the first edition, comes in at about 2.2 million ringgit. It comes packaged with things like 22-inch wheels and the rotating display screen here, which, you know, if you're tired of the digital display, 12.1 inch, you get a trio of instruments. You get a temperature gauge, you get a compass, and you get a stopwatch. Right, so there we have it, the third generation Bentley Continental GT. It's been a short but sweet drive. I've enjoyed it. Tell us what you think in the comments. Till then, I'm Mick Chan, signing out for paultan.org.